Something Tim has told me, and Tim's usually well read on a lot of things. He has weird opinions about certain things, but sciencey type stuff he's pretty well read on. He was telling me years ago that when you remember something, you're not really remembering the event, you're remembering the last time you recalled it. Which is why your memories of things change over time.
To back him up, yeah. Every time you recall something, it's kind of like you're taking it out, breaking it apart, remaking it, and then shelving it again. And so the more you recall something, the more the memory.
So what you're saying is fortune, fame, mirror, vein, gone insane, but the memory remains.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Laser Comb Podcast, your favorite podcast where two 90s kids comb through classic television with a fine-tooth laser. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
And I'm the Siege, the other guy.
Siege.
Yes. We're on episode 22 of the Laser Comb
22.
Podcast. 22! Too much Laser Comb.
So
it's been said before.
Those in the know that this is Patreon month.
Yeah, we're actually, we've kind of bled over into February because I didn't take into account how many $10 patrons we had.
What are you gonna do, man? What are you gonna do?
Well, it's Patreon month continued. It just means our next themed month, anime month, is only going to be 3 weeks instead of 4.
Suffering from success. Too many Patreons. No, we thank you. And
yes,
we're actually covering Patreon supporter, long time fan of the of our wares, Bemused Horseman.
Yes, I believe he's a fan of all of the shows.
Seems like it. Yeah. And what did Bemused Horseman pick for us to randomly dive into here?
He came up with Total Drama, which was a show that admittedly I had never heard of until he mentioned it. But Cal, you mentioned off air that you were familiar with it.
I was. It's
got
a lot of iconic like internet memes too.
So as we do every week, we went to numbergenerator.org. They're still not sponsoring us, but hopefully soon. Fingers crossed. So we went to numbergenerator.org, figured out, I think, Total Drama. See, Total Drama is like, each season is different. It's kind of like Survivor, which is kind of fitting because it's a parody of like Survivor and like those kind of reality shows. So each season is a different theme. Now, you could take each season. We could have considered each season its own show. We could have, much like you can do that with Power Rangers too, right?
You do that with Power Rangers. You could do that with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. There's a lot of
big bad Beetleborgs, you know,
big bad Beetleborgs
and Beetleborgs Metallics. Fuck, we gotta cut. For the purposes of this podcast, we are going to treat Big Bad Beetleborgs and Beetleborgs Metallics as separate shows, so we could do one of each sometime down the road. But yeah, so for the sake of to be truly random, I decided to lump every season of Total Drama all together, which I think totaled like 116 episodes. So put it through the old number generator and landed on episode 84 overall, which I think is the 6th episode of the 5th season, 4th or 5th season.
Runaway model.
Runaway model. Yes, episode 6 of whatever number, 5th or 6th season, 4th or 5th season.
The season that's called Revenge of the Island.
The season that's called Revenge of the Island. I should have done more research, damn it. But I was just caught up in how much I enjoyed this show.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Cal, you're more familiar with this show than I was, correct?
I
Are
was
you
aware of its existence. Yes.
aware of its existence? Did you have any familiarity with it at all?
Not this. Whatever's going on here.
What can you tell us anything about Total Drama?
Well, Total Drama, at least this episode, is a lot like Survivor or slash Big Brother
Right.
in that they can get away and talk to like the camera or the audience. But in this case, they do that by going to the shit house. Not a fan. Not a fan of the buzzing flies and the idea of like them just taking a dump and like staring the camera in the eyes and being like, okay, here's my plan.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know why that bugged me so much. But
I
what
found
total
I found it a little amusing because I'm just going to preface this by saying I hate reality shows. I don't like Survivor. I don't like Big
we've
Brother.
been duped and bamboozled into covering a cartoon that's kind of like doing a satire of a reality show.
It is technically narrative based, but it fits. But in a way, we are kind of sort of doing a reality show. We've been we've had the wool pulled over our eyes. See,
Yeah.
uh, the '90s. One of my favorite lines of the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, which we'll definitely cover on this podcast at some point, because I love that shit growing up. There's an episode where Spider-Man is being pursued by the Shocker, and he's in this like castle or something, and he
Right.
pulls this big like rug that's like on the wall. He pulls it and like throws it at the Shocker, and the Shocker like blasts it, and he's like, "You can't pull the wool over me."
That kind of humor.
Yeah,
Amazing. Where the whole scene is revolved around that one joke.
that one joke that's not even that very good, but for
Yeah.
some reason it's stuck out in my head.
Yeah. So bemused horsemen, we have been tricked, we've been backstabbed, and we've been quite possibly bamboozled. Congratulations.
All of those things. Also, thank you because I kind of had fun with this. It's not perfect, but and we'll get into that. But
We'll get into that. Yeah, yeah.
well, let's start talking about this episode proper. The episode opens up with a couple of dudes like going over to a bathroom, and they're like wanting to get in, and they're like knocking on the door, and they're like, "Hey, let us in," basically. And we got three female characters in the outhouse, which is kind of a stereotype unto itself, right there. Like, oh, like the women are hogging the washroom.
Yeah, good point. There's a
Yeah,
lot of that. That
there's a lot of stereotyping going on in this show, from what I've
some of
seen.
it I had problems with, but
Some of it
not.
I found bewildering.
Oh, okay. I'm curious. Point those out to me when we get there. But
Yeah, we'll get there.
the three ladies hanging out in this, I guess you could call it a public bathroom, a camp
Yes.
bathroom.
So we got the Glamazon, whose name I'm not familiar with, so I'm just gonna call her Jersey Shore.
Got those hips though.
We've got the hot one, the redhead with the like bright red hair with like the like small pigtails. Who
Well,
like
I think that the chick with the big hoop earrings and the wide hips is the hot one, but I mean,
fair enough. I believe the
I
one in
also
the
think the
middle.
tall one is pretty cool.
Yeah, so do I, and I'll get to that. The one in the middle, I think's name is Zoe, but they mention that what's her Jersey Shore makes a comment about like her looking like Princess Leia got attacked with scissors or something like that.
Something like that.
She makes a
Yeah.
comment about her hair, and then Zoe is like, actually, it's more Queen Amidala than anything. Which I'm like, your hair's
Fucking nerd.
fucking nerd. But also, her hairstyle is like neither of those things.
Yeah, I
But
was
for the
like, both of you are wrong.
both of you are wrong. But for the purposes of this podcast, I am now going to refer to her as Padme
Oh, there you go.
throughout the rest of the
Why
episode.
not?
And on the left, we've got the cool one, the one who, in my opinion, is the cool one. We got the tall, broad, not very effeminate ginger chick, Joe. I like this character, so I'm actually going to call her Joe by her actual name.
Ginger? Isn't she blonde?
She looks kind of ginger to me.
Well, the one with the pigtails is red hair. She's
Well,
the ginger.
the one with the pigtails has looks like she has like dyed red hair.
I see what you're saying. It's hard to tell, folks. It's a cartoon.
It's a
Did we
cartoon.
mention that?
But I think that Joe is a ginger.
Okay. That's
So
what's important.
So yeah, it's important what I think, damn it,
Yeah.
and no one else.
Yeah, and so they're just talking about hair and blah blah blah, and they all have differing opinions on it. That's the opening.
Yeah, that's the gist of the scene.
And girls talking about hair, am I right? And then we cut to I think Army Dude is called Brick. Yeah, let's go with Brick.
I'm just gonna call him Sergeant.
Yeah, let's call him Sarge.
Sarge, yeah. I'm gonna call him Sarge. So we're introduced to the dudes of the show. The man
and they're flexing and they're like patting each other on the butt and they're like, yeah, we're a team of men.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, God.
It's great to be men.
Put your hand in because we're men. And there's a fourth hand
together.
And there's a fourth hand that goes in. And he's like, yeah, men till the end. And everyone else freaks out and they're like, what's with the circus thumb? And it reveals kind of like a curly haired, barely any facial hair, kind of like overweight, like video game nerd.
I kind of get Seth Rogen vibes from him.
I get strong Seth, as voiced by Seth Rogen vibes. So we'll call this guy Seth.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this thing. This is my gaming thumb.
And the rest of the dudes are basically like, fucking nerd.
Fucking nerd.
And so this is what I find bewildering is like this show actually like treats like the fact that this guy really likes video games, and it gets like to a point of like being cringeworthy where he's like it's been 14 hours since I played a video game. My brain is failing.
27 minutes, 22 seconds since I played a video game. And I'm like,
Jesus Christ, dude.
Is this what is this? Like the early 90s?
Well,
where we're like flicking the glasses off of like four-eyed nerds and being like fucking video game virgin. Because that's this, like half of the episode jokes are making fun of this video gamer.
Yeah, well, and that's what I find bewildering is this episode is from like 2014 or something like that. It's from like the early to mid 2010s, I think. Video game, like fucking everybody plays
boomer
video
writers.
Games. Well, exactly. Like everybody plays video games. Like it's
like
not
actually everybody.
Pretty much, yeah. Like how many fucking PlayStation 4s have been sold? Like 120 million or something like that.
Oh, geez. And the last 2 years, they've had to increase production on PS4s.
Yeah, PS4s because there's a shortage because of the chip shortage with PS5. And like the Xbox One sold something like 60 or 70 million units.
Also,
like
let's not discount
the Switch has sold like 140 million units or something like that. It's like Nintendo's best-selling console ever. And so the point is like fucking everybody plays video games.
And whether you like it or not, mobile gaming counts.
Yeah.
So your mom playing Candy Crush, or that one ex who wasn't into like video games but still played like Triple Town, like before breakfast.
Fucking Farmville.
That counts. That counts, bro. We all remember Flash games on Newgrounds. Or maybe we don't.
Well, I do.
I sure do.
I actually liked the videos on Newgrounds a lot more than the game. I didn't really play the games.
There were some like groundbreaking animators on Newgrounds, dude.
I was a big fan of the Demented cartoon movie.
Seems familiar, but
It
not
it's actually
strongly.
feature length too. Like I think it's like over an hour long.
Isn't that where salad fingers originated too?
But it's like it's this really long like random video of just very and the animation style is like stick figure, but it's just like really like inane like stupid things happening in like quick succession.
Newgrounds, the creator of like stick combat. Yeah. Yeah.
The most memorable part from the Demented cartoon movie is the Ziki bomb. So it's this bomb with like a smiley face on it, and the eyes are like pointed in different directions, which I always found amusing. But he would like pop into a scene and just yell "Zeke Boogie Duke" and then explode.
That- that's very Newgrounds.
It is. There's a bit where like there like there's a production of Romeo and Juliet going on, and Juliet is like on the balcony and she's like, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, where are you, Romeo?" And the Ziki bomb slides in. He's like, "I'm here," and she's like, "You're not Romeo," and he's like, "Ziggy Boogie Duke," and then blows up.
Comedy at its finest.
Fucking very stupid early 2000s humor. If anyone listening to this is familiar with the Demented cartoon movie, leave a comment because
Or just tell us how dumb we are.
tell us how dumb we are.
That too. But I guess we're not as dumb as Seth on Total Drama because they're like, wow, like, dude, you're probably gonna go first because like we're athletes and real men are athletes. And then Seth is like, hey, dude, like gamers are athletes too. We got like crazy good hand-eye coordination and like ninja-like reflexes.
So who is the men team made up of? We've got Sarge, we've got a ginger guy who I'm just gonna call date rape, because he's
Trailer Park.
trailer park. We've got the
Black
fresh.
Lightning.
We've got the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, the Fresh Prince. Was it you that told me that? Is his name actually Lightning?
His name is actually Lightning, yeah. And yeah,
Which
we
one
got
is
Seth,
that? What are we talking about?
and we got Seth Rogen. What are we talking about? Oh right, Total Drama.
I don't know. I liked Black Lightning. I'm not calling that because he's black and he has a lightning symbol, although that is but are you aware
Oh,
of what I'm talking about?
oh, the DC show.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I never watched it. I'm not. Um, I like. I grew up reading comics. Like superhero. Fucking everyone likes superheroes nowadays too. That's another thing. Much like
Stolen Valor.
but much like gaming was like a fucking nerd kind of thing like 30 years ago. Like but now like everyone is into it.
Oh
Same
yeah,
thing
you get a
with
swirly.
same thing with superheroes. Like you read comics like back then. It was like fucking nerd. And
Oh yeah.
sometimes and
And
off.
that persisted longer than the than making fun of video games nerd did. Video games were like mainstreamish, I'd say 2000s,
Yeah,
but
totally.
reading comics wasn't until like 2010s
When hip hop
onwards.
artists started rapping about PlayStation 2s, I think that's when gaming like finally hit the like the mainstream.
How long did Black Lightning go on for? I'm going to say not long.
3 seasons.
Oh, 4 seasons.
4. I was
I,
close.
oh, apparently I'm catching up to do. Yeah.
I was close and I
So
didn't go over, so I win the
what,
showcase.
what is that? That I don't make the rules. So what do fuck, I don't Lightning, Trailer Park, and Sarge like set up a test of skill, or maybe Seth does himself to like grab cheese out of mouse traps, and it goes how you'd expect.
Yeah.
He
Uh
grabs one, and they're all like, "Wow, we're actually impressed. Okay, maybe you are a real man." He's like, "See, guys." And then he like stumbles, falls backwards, and hits all for some reason. By the way, you know how a scene is made around a joke rather than we were just talking about this. Why are there 10 mouse traps with cheese behind him?
uh Yeah. Well,
It's so he could fall into it.
well, and the gag here too is he was just when they were like making fun of him for playing video games, he was all like, "Yeah, because I'm a gamer, guys. I have like increased reflexes and blah 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 blah." I
And now
remember
he
this.
trips.
I remember this was actually like that kind of stuff was a. I was seeing people like defending the fact that they played video games all the time around this time online a
Same.
lot
It was cringe.
with those kind of arguments like, oh, increased reflexes and problem solving abilities, which there have been studies to suggest that, yes, but um yeah, you're not a fucking like you're not like a savant or something just because you can like you're really sick at Call of Duty, bro.
But also, like, let's say you are just the top like 0.01% of Counter-Strike source, right?
Right.
Or CSGO for some reason. Um, uh,
I have
how's that
something.
transferring over to real other things that don't involve video games?
Well,
What are you able to like maneuver an Excel sheet better
well,
than
you
everyone else?
you see, if the USS Enterprise has a problem with the ship's computer and Data is out of action, they'll need someone else to like pull all those colored chips out and rearrange them at super speed. So we need
Now's my chance.
so
Now's my time to shine.
we need Gamer Bro to take care of that. You remember
All it
that on
took
Star?
was
You remember that on Next Generation? Like anytime there was a problem with the computer, like it would usually just be fixed by Data, like rearranging all those like colored plastic like sticks.
if I've learned anything about sci-fi, it's that whether it's Reboot, whether it's 2001 A Space Odyssey, it's that you fix problems in giant like supercomputers by removing different colored pieces of plastic and then putting them back in other places.
Yep. Or in and if it's an external problem on Star Trek: The Next Generation, you just divert power to the deflector dish and do blah 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 blah.
Because then, well, I mean, you can divert power from anything.
Well, it's just like the deflector dish on Next Generation was always it was their like Swiss Army knife to like fix like for the writers to like get them out of whatever problem they were dealing with that week.
When you leave something ill-defined, then it plays many roles.
I,
Deflector dish, what does it do? Whatever we want it to.
technically, what it does is it deflects space debris. Yeah, actually,
Oh no, that makes sense. Yeah. When they're going through like warp space, warped
yep.
space, it would make sense that they need to deflect anything in front of them. Otherwise, there would be an impact that would like exceed the speed of light.
It would eviscerate the ship. Yeah. Like even like the tiniest like bit of space debris would just like shred the ship like
Oh,
cheese.
it atomize it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we should do Star.
There you go. Makes
we
sense.
should do Star Trek on this podcast sometime. Every
that's a good point.
We should do a Star Trek month where we do like a different Star Trek series every month, like every week.
Ah, fine with that.
Fuck it, let's do that after Anime Month.
There you go. Oh yeah, we're doing Anime Month.
yeah. I'll talk about that at the end of the.
When we do
podcast.
the end, yeah. So what's happening here is Seth Rogen is in the bathroom talking to the audience, the viewer, us.
Right.
And there's a little rat icon floating beside him to let us know that he's on Team Rat.
Right. And what are the girls? Team Maggot, I think.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah, ew.
Because men are rats and women are
men are from Mars and women are from Pluto.
Everywhere else.
Everywhere else. There you go. That's the correct answer. Mars, planet man.
So there's some weird kind of like sub Mars, planet man.
Sarge would love it there.
Yeah, he would love it there. It's like, whatever happened to locker rooms? Walk around, look at each other's dicks. It's okay if it's in a locker room.
We're all naked. What else am I going to look at?
Yeah,
I,
what
go,
else? What else?
I think that was a line in like the latest episode of Peacemaker, because he was
Oh,
like,
I need to watch. I need to watch the. Oh
or
wait,
not.
no, you're not talking about the most recent.
No, sorry, yeah, no, not this week's, but last week's episode, because he had like nicknames for all of his like
Oh my god,
all of
yeah,
his everyone he knew, and it was all like relating to their dicks.
it's a locker room. What else are you gonna look at? Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, let me guess what was yours, and he's like, oh, chimp arm. Or something. No, that's what it was, chimp arm. And I'm like, like, wait a second. There's a lot of things that are synonymous with big besides chimp arm. Like, do you have like is it very hairy?
Does it
Like,
does it have an elbow that bends? Like
yeah.
what?
Is there like a weird like extra like curve to it? These questions and more I don't want to talk about. So what's happening?
Listeners, Peacemaker on HBO Max in the US and Crave in Canada. Great show. Go watch it.
Yeah, actually. And you know what? Watch the like the intro for it. It's on like YouTube. Just go watch the intro for it. If that's not your style, like if you don't think that's amusing and funny, that's it. It captures what the show is about really well in their little musical number. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, totally.
If you don't find joy in that, then you can skip the show.
Yeah.
So where were we? Oh, we're in another shitter talking to like Team Maggot Redhead.
Right.
Flies are going around.
Padme.
And I guess one of the characters has a split personality.
Oh yeah, because one of them, I don't know, she's like into this one guy, and he like acts differently toward her, and he mentions that like his split personality is ruining his chances with her.
And the split personality likes the other girl.
Right.
Hairspray. Because she at the beginning
Jersey
of the
Shore.
episode, she sprayed her hair. She reminds me of a chick from like Grease. Right. She sprays her hair and she's like, now this is how you do hair. And she like knocks on it like it's made out of tin.
Yeah, so well, if I recall correctly, like the show doesn't really do anything with that detail beyond not in this episode. No, the only episode that we have watched, ladies and gentlemen.
They talk. There's some drama. It's not important to the plot of this particular episode. And
what is important to the plot of this episode is we cut to them like sitting in front of a stage, and we get to meet the guy who's organizing all this. This guy in shades with like gray hair, whom I'm going to call Anderson Cooper for the rest of this podcast.
But like more hipster because like his hair is long and in a ponytail.
Yeah, he's like Anderson Cooper. He's like Mirror Universe Anderson Cooper.
There you go, like a bohemian Anderson Cooper, because Anderson Cooper is like fucking sharp.
Yeah,
right. Like always, like clean, like fucking camera ready. This guy is like, like does peyote retreats every spring.
Yeah, he's Anderson Cooper from another dimension.
Yeah. And so not as successful, has to do this like weird teen drama show. Yeah.
I actually find this character quite funny.
I found it funny too.
And there are some jokes coming up later on in the episode that involving him that actually like things he said that like really cracked me up. So the gist of it is their competition is that they get to dress a model, and we're introduced to one of the judges, like the guest judge, who apparently was a contestant on a previous season.
I was like, who is this?
Yeah, it's this like pretty blonde model. And so the group are all excited. They're like, "Oh, hey, we get to dress a real model. That's really cool." So I'm like, "Oh, sweet. This is like going to be
America's Next Top Model.
Project Runway type thing."
Or
Which,
yeah.
okay, so I said true confessions time. I said I don't like reality shows. My ex got me into watching Project Runway a few years ago. I actually kind of like it.
Okay, so I used to watch the hell out of Big Brother Canada, and I had auditioned a few years. Um, I auditioned in person too.
Oh, cool.
Um, they audition you in like a group of five, and the guy, the casting director, um, thought he like kind of had my number. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, like oh cool dude, right?" And like just kind of thought I was a dumb punk. Like
Right.
I don't know. Like he already had made up in his mind that he wasn't interested in casting me, and I was like, oh okay, whatever, and I'll try again or whatever. Maybe he's trying to get a rouse out of me or whatever. But he kept making like jokes towards me instead of asking me questions, and kept asking the very basic, very boring looking like couple that was up with me,
Right.
like, oh, like how would you feel if like she was on the show? Oh yeah, I'd, but you weren't. Oh yeah, I'd support her and blah blah blah. Oh, but like, what if there was like romantic tension between her and like someone
So
else?
these shows are centered around interpersonal drama.
Oh, I know.
So that's probably what he was trying to gauge is how people like might react. And that's probably why he was like kind of like making jokes at your expense.
Wasn't, but it was just weird because he wasn't asking like me questions or what I thought about anything. It
Right.
was just comments towards me. Um, and I just kind of like ran with it, like
Yeah.
happy go lucky, like whatever. But yeah, he flat out, he's like, oh yeah, like like the people that like try to sell somebody that they're not, or like whatever, like that chick over here who like showed up with like a cape and she's wearing like a horse head. Fuck her. She's not getting on. I'm not even gonna like ask her questions when she comes up here. And I'm like, holy
Wow.
shit.
That's
but I
harsh.
but I get it, right? Because when it's like day 10, day 15, day 30,
Right.
you're not the girl that won the audition because you were quirky and had like a cape and a horse head. You're just going to be yourself. And
Yeah.
there's nothing worse on those shows than the people that just sit on the couch and don't fucking interact with the drama or scheme. I
That would be me on one of those shows, which is why I would never be cast on a show like that.
Man, I'd be so fucking good on those shows. I already like socially engineer and manipulate like situations, but to smooth things out,
Right.
right? Like to oust tyrants in certain like communities, and it's hard. I won't go into any details, maybe off air or like off topic in preambles and stuff like that. I'll get into that, but like calming people and like changing perspectives and like that kind of thing is like my bread and butter. Especially when it's like people I'm not like long-term like friends with. And man, feel like I could fucking do great on Big Brother Canada. Just saying. Just saying.
I I don't doubt it. Um, to get back to the episode, so they Anderson Cooper tells the gang that they don't get to dress a model. They get to dress some of these creatures that are apparently lurking around the island of Dr. Moreau.
So I was like, oh, what? So they have to go like catch a beaver or like whatever. Apparently we're in the Fallout universe
Yeah,
because like all
we
the creatures on this are
mutated.
to what you said, like the island of Dr. Moreau, which is like human spliced animals and humans being spliced. They're all like mutated and like very hostile or have powers.
Yeah, like
Like
the
it's
what
the Fallout universe.
the one guy like puts this
A frog,
frog that
a
has like
three-eyed frog.
a three-eyed frog on his head, and it like teleports him into the sky.
Yeah,
I'm like, at this point, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
yeah. It was like what? Like
So
I thought I was gonna go watch like a teen drama cartoon, and ended
right,
up being like a reality thing, and ended up being
like
a body horror.
there's a bit. So we get a like montage of them like trying to catch like various types of animals. There's a bit that actually like really cracked me up. So
The shark,
the shark bit. One,
trailer park guy. Yeah.
yeah, trailer trash, trailer trash slash date rape.
Me on half of the shows where I'm recording just in a fucking tank top.
Um, yes. Also, I would like to mention I find sharks inherently amusing.
Apex predators always are, man.
A little known fact about me. I find sharks funny. I can't even explain why, but if you like show me like I don't know, like I have like a like swimming trunks and like a tank top. Not that I ever swim because I don't like water, but I have them, damn it. And they both have the just like pictures of sharks on them.
Oh, so you're not afraid of sharks?
No, I find sharks hilarious.
I think they are too.
I don't know what it is, but sharks
Dude,
just
they're like
amuse me.
30%. There's 30% mouth. They have like multiple like rows of teeth. They're rad. I love
Yeah,
sharks.
yeah.
I had a boss who had like a shark phobia, like hated sharks. And one time when I was working overnight, I found a plastic little shark, like leftover. I worked at a hotel, leftover in like the recycling areas that I would clean out at night, right?
Right.
And I found this like little shark in like a pose where it's like, swimming like with a bent like fin, and like it has its mouth open, and I just like left it on her monitor. um
Nice.
but it's revealed, we haven't talked about it yet, that Tank Top Boy is actually like really strategic and manipulative,
Yeah.
and like is going in hard to win this thing. And he sees a piece of pizza on the ground, because it's revealed that all of these creatures like out in the wilderness of this island are not
They're
only mutated, but they're
they're sentient.
smart.
Yeah, they're sentient, it
Yeah,
seems.
they can wear
So
clothes, they do jobs, they can make traps.
so there's
And
a
it's that Looney Tunes. Go ahead.
so there's a piece of pizza, pepperoni pizza specifically, sitting on the ground with like a rope like trap around it.
A
Like
Looney Tunes trap.
yeah, you step in the rope and get pulled up and from your leg and you're hanging upside down. So trailer trash notices this, and he's like and like the this like anthropomorphic shark
Pizza.
is hiding behind the tree
Giggling, yeah.
watching this go down, and he's like, oh, pizza, and he's like, oh wait, I would eat this. I would only eat this if it didn't have pepperoni on it. Oh
And he's
well,
saying this like out
like
loud,
very
knowing that
loudly,
this is a trap.
so that knowing that this is a trap, so the shark can hear him. So then he walks away, and the shark like goes over, and in a bit that just cracked me the fuck up, the shark like leans down
Flicks.
and starts flicking the pepperoni off the pizza one by one.
And of course, Tank Top goes over to like where the rope was, and like cuts it, and it's like the weighted system or whatever, like comes down, and then the shark is grabbed and pulled up into the air.
Right.
And then this is the part that made it funny for me. So that the shark is caught by its shark hand, right? It's anthropomorphic shark. And he goes, ha, 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 ha. Oh, perfect. No pepperoni. And he picks it up and then eats the fucking piece of pizza.
Yeah.
He's not catching the shark to use it in the fashion contest. So there's an amusing nature to this that is like, oh, like he's not doing this for anything but like to the pizza, not to like avoid a predator. He's not afraid of like anything. So you try to trick me, I'm stealing your pizza. Oh no, I like that character.
I don't because I find him like really like creepy and gross later on.
Right.
Yeah.
I like him up to this point.
Yeah,
So
he
we
he he starts getting really creepy and gross in his interactions and some schemes he gets up to involving one of the female characters.
well, he even so it's funny that you keep using the term female. Um, whether it's on purpose or not, he uses that like word, like, oh, the other females or like whatever. And whenever I don't know if you're aware, but like whenever I hear like it's a very like, I don't know how to say this. The internet always points it out. But whenever somebody uses like female instead of just saying woman, it implies some inherent um lack of worldliness or sensitivity or uh non-inclusiveness.
See, I do it I like both ways though. I'll say male characters too.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to point that out. I because like the characters on the show I think say it a couple of times too. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just a weird thing I've noticed, mostly
Uh,
on Reddit.
there is a skeevy way you can say that.
And that's the point. Just
There,
saying, oh, the female cast or oh, the male cast or whatever. But when like you like smooth out your eyebrows and you're like, time to go seduce the females.
yeah,
That
yeah, exactly.
that's
Like,
how you do.
or I was talking about Star Trek earlier. The way the fucking Ferengi say it.
Oh, that
Ah,
is the golden.
oh, that where Earthlings? Where are your females?
Holy shit. That is good.
I've watched a lot of Star Trek in my life.
You earthlings, you give your females too much power.
That's also pretty good.
Can you tell which one of my favorite characters are on it's my least favorite series, but Deep
Quark.
Space Nine.
Quark. Yeah. Yeah.
He grows on you, you know? That's all I'm saying.
I like that episode.
Wow, we're good at doing Ferengi impressions.
I like that episode of Deep Space Nine where him and what is it, Rom and Nog end up going back in time and crash landing.
Roswell.
Yeah,
That's like one of 5 episodes I've seen. They go back in time. They are the Roswell incident.
yeah. And we actually that episode is kind of cool because we get to see their universal translators are broken at first.
Yeah, so they can't talk to each other. They just speak alien.
Yeah, so actually we get scenes from the humans' perspectives, the male characters' perspectives. um just had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Of them interacting with one another and speaking Ferengi, which is a very, very alien language. It doesn't sound anything like an Earth language. But then eventually they fix their universal translators.
Yeah, they do some tweaking with their tools in each other's like ears and then fix them. And I guess it works both ways because he speaks to like one of the Roswell like generals.
Yeah, he's like, I remember it's a shot. It's right before a commercial break. All of a sudden, he's like, "My name is Quark. I got a business proposition for you."
I've got a deal you can't say no to. See.
Anyway, we should get back to.
Well, this is now a Ferengi Star Trek podcast.
we should get back to
so okay.
about
There's a
total drama.
before we progress like the plot here. I was just astounded with I've never tried to do a Ferengi voice before, but I think we nailed it.
Yeah, I do too. I've never tried before either.
And oh fuck, there's a scene where it cuts to the forest and we get a huge fucking buff like 2-headed rabbit beating the shit out of a beaver with 2 tails and spikes and sharp teeth. So all of the animals are like aggressive and mutated and fighting each other too. A squirrel is shooting lasers out of its eyes. Like, it's wild shit, folks.
Squirrel with fucking eye lasers.
Yeah, and the gang are kind of like just hiding behind bushes, and they're like, what do we
What
do?
yeah, yeah. What
How do we do this without dying?
yeah. And the girls team what was their name? Team Maggot, was it? They
Yes.
they find like a big like well
A
they find a
grub.
they find a maggot out in the forest, a small one.
And it has spikes in its mouth. It's like a sci-fi worm,
Well,
right? And it
well, the
keeps puking.
the one that they want to capture and dress up is this like small, like cute little one that's just eating some leaves. And they're like, "Well, how about that one? It's like it's small. It should be it's like the size of a beagle. Like that'll be easy to catch." But behind it is this big like giant like mutated one with like big red eyes and like big like sharp pointed teeth. And that's the one that's like throwing up slime and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
They end up going with one that's in between because they end up using one that's kind of dog sized on the stage. So I'm not.
yeah.
They end up using the pukey. It ends. It's dog sized and ends up puking on stage. There's a side plot, which is video game guy talking to hot chick, and I can't tell if this chick is kind of like works for the show or if
Yeah.
she's is that what's going on here?
Yeah.
But I kind of like the side plot.
Well, I think the joke is that like she was brought on to by Anderson Cooper to be a to be a guest judge. She's a returning contestant from a previous season was the impression that I got. And he brought her on to be a judge, but the joke here is he's having her do like manual labor too.
Oh, these are two different characters I'm talking about.
You're talking about the model that he brought in. That's the one that Seth Rogen has the like weird like little romance with.
Those are two different characters.
No, they're not.
I'm very sure that they are. Because one's named Dakota and the other is un momento. One's named Dakota and she wears a plaid shirt and she has blonde hair, and the other one has like streaks in her hair. Let me try it. If you go and find some screenshots of both. Yeah, so if you go to like a 519 or whatever, the guest model has like bright blue eyes, brown eyebrows. She's got like a head wrap, and she's got like blonde flowing hair behind her and these big like gaudy blue boots. And that's a different character than the one with thinner eyebrows and just yellow hair. Don't worry, I thought actually was confused for a second too. I was like, are these the same character? But yeah, one of them has green eyes and one of them has blue eyes. And Dakota is the one that's like the laborer helping Anderson Cooper.
Okay. All right. Anyway, they have a he wants fashion advice from her and she gets like really excited. She's all like, "Oh, you want advice from me?"
No one ever asks my advice.
She's like, "Yeah, stripes. Stripes are going to be the next are going to be the next big thing."
Stripes are in, Jerry. Everyone loves stripes. Yeah. She's very she tells him it's she tells him it's top secret, as in 3 whole seasons ahead secret. And I'm like, huh.
Right.
So but his team is like, okay, like how do we like get stripes on people then? So they make like a clothing bomb.
Oh yeah, yeah. They take a duffel bag and like
Put explosives in it
put
and
explosives
glue,
in it.
adhesive and explosives and clothes, right?
Right.
And they decide to their model is probably the most lethal thing in here. It's Bigfoot,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
is chilling in his cave watching TV when they
Yeah.
throw the clothing bomb on him.
Right.
And then yeah, they run out of time, and They do the fashion show. And the mega tiers are what? The three girls and split personality and Urkel. We're like deriving all of these characters down to down to like the simplest of caricatures.
I'm actually getting confused as to where we even are in the episode now.
Oh, sorry. I went past Seth talking to Dakota.
It's like the revelation that those two characters aren't the same
I know
character. It's like completely just like
where you are.
completely like fucked my rhythm up. I'm like, oh, wait. And so
Oh,
now
shit.
I'm like combing through the episode, trying to like I'm
I
like,
was
oh
I was
right.
doing the same thing.
I'm like, oh right, okay, right, okay. So
Oh yeah.
the reason I think the reason why I got confused is one, they're very similar looking. Uh,
And they're such side characters that when they're presented, they're always with the judge.
well,
They're always
yeah,
with the host, I mean.
well, yeah, and like she had mentioned the stripes, and then um when the
When
fashion show is going on, we see the like ex contestant who is one of the judges, and like they're doing the fashion show, but then the other girl like comes up and criticizes the stripes right away. And I guess in my head, like I guess I just wasn't paying close enough attention. I thought she had like moved from the I don't know, whatever.
but yeah, it turns out the maggot comes out. Oh my, there's okay, so there's a montage where a few characters dress the maggot up differently.
Right.
And Jersey Shore kind of like is like, now here we go. And like big hoop earrings, like giant like lipstick, and well, makes her look like she's got some Jersey Shore going.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And they're like, and then they let Padme like do it, but they don't show the viewer. And then when they roll the maggot out on the runway, yes, I never thought I'd actually say those words out loud, but this is the episode we're reviewing. She has like a big wig that kind of looks like the beehive hairdo from the 50s, and like a polka dot dress and like a pearl necklace or something. And they're like, oh, very like traditional, going for like a 50s vibes, like the poodle skirt kind of like polka dot thing. And then team rat they run out, and they're like, in a very quickly, they're like, yeah, our model is rocking something, and they're trying to like talk about it as the Sasquatch, like wearing like a sweater and shorts, runs out and starts just uppercutting all the guys off the stage.
Yeah, it made me laugh. Yeah,
The
so
outfit consists of a variety of random garments that have been applied to his body.
the Yeti is wearing stripes, but they're horizontal
They're
stripes,
horizontal.
not vertical stripes, and horizontal stripes are no good, no siree bub. They make you look fat. And indeed, they start really emphasizing the fact that this Yeti has a big gut.
Yeah, he goes, because he gets defensive. And then literally, it's a cartoon, his gut goes and like breaks out of his shirt.
Yeah, because that is how body fat works. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
as soon as you become aware of it, it triples in size.
yeah. That's Yeti physique at least. So the Yeti like gets mad because they're fat shaming him, and he grabs the model girl and a jetpack and flies away. And Anderson Cooper is like, "No, he took my jetpack."
I appreciate that kind of humor.
So do I.
Right? Because there was no implication that he ever had a jetpack. So there are circumstances where like that random level of humor is actually humorous. And I think that's one of
Because
them.
like he doesn't care that this model like gets kidnapped. He's just like, he took my jetpack.
And then he turns to the camera and he's like, will Lindsay survive? And am I legally liable if she doesn't? Find out after the break. It's fucking good.
Which made me laugh. And it goes to obviously to a commercial break. And it comes back and he's on the phone. He's like, what do you mean I'm legally liable if she doesn't come back?
Yeah, because it cuts to presumably what he thinks is off air. And
Yeah.
in a hushed tone, he's like, what do you mean I'm liable if the Yeti eats Lindsay? It's not my fault. She's delicious. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And so then,
Well, there clearly was a commercial there too, because the camera faded to black and then came back.
yeah. And he gets the rest of the cast to storm. Oh, by the way, the Yeti went to Skull Island.
Yeah. The
Like
skull,
actually,
the Skull Island of Dr. Moreau.
the skull. There we go. If this
Wait,
episode is the Skull Island of Dr. Moreau,
you'll find Marlon Brando and King Kong just chilling out together there.
and he'll be sipping margaritas and hanging out with his little friend under a parathol.
A
What a weird movie.
The severed horse head under in the guy's bed. Now I'm talking about The Godfather.
I'll make you kids an offer you can't refuse.
So I like what Anderson Cooper does here. So when he finds out that he's on the hook if she doesn't come back, he's like, "Okay, gang, new round is we're gonna go and save her." Yeah, that's it.
Whoever saves her gets immunity.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Ooh," and I'm like, "What is this guy's budget?" Doesn't that just endanger more kids?
Yes.
And then this is the start of when they really start digging into video game guy.
Yeah.
They blame him entirely. Keep in mind, they were going to dress him up in like army fatigues and like a jock strap, like gym clothes and shit.
Right.
And they're like, "Way to go, you fucking nerd. We lost the fashion show because of you, idiot."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Sorry, guys, I haven't played a video game in so long.
In 14 hours.
My brain isn't working." And I'm like,
like you said earlier, okay, boomer writers.
Okay, boomer writers. And so what? They trek across Kong Island. There's some more like toilet shots, which I find funny and kind of like realistic as to actual these like side scenes that they do in Big Brother a lot. They're on Kong Island, where, by the way, it's uninhabitable. Like you're not supposed to be able to survive here. And then they cut to a few characters in the outhouse talking to the camera again.
Yeah.
That's very Big Brother. Well, they will be in the middle of like a competition or a scene, and then it will be cut to like a contestant clearly shot after talking about it as if it's like live action.
The power of editing, ladies and gentlemen.
Amazing. And so true to that kind of like style that happens here.
So trailer trash is like, oh yeah, Anderson Cooper is going to merge the teams any day now. So I guess that's a thing that he does.
So he starts to ingratiate himself with Team Maggot.
Yeah.
By like getting the redhead to think that he's like being picked on his team.
Yeah, he like gets super manipulative of Padme here. And
gets a hug from her, and he kind of like looks up at the camera with a shit-eating grin, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, this is where I started to not like this guy.
Exactly. And it cuts to her, and she's talking to Toilet Cam, Outhouse Cam, and she's like, "Poor Scott, who knew he had a sensitive side?" And I'm like, uh-oh.
That's why
it begins.
That's why I called him date rape earlier.
Cuts back to him in the
I get
shitter,
those vibes.
And he's like pretending to cry, and then he starts maniacally laughing. And I'm like, oh, please don't do this, guy.
Yeah. And so we find out that the model chick and the Yeti are actually just chilling out together, and the Yeti actually looks really sad about the fact that he was fat shamed.
Yeah,
but she's trying to reassure him.
But she's bad at doing it. She's like, "Oh, it's okay. You're just a sensitive snowflake." But just like a really big, like just a big fucking fat sensitive snowflake. And I'm like, what is up with everybody is taking fat shots at this Yeti? And by the way, he's in his bulk phase. He's not even fat. Like this guy could rip you in half. Like, where my Yeti rights at?
or my Yeti rights. Um, and so the gang like finds them, and the model chick is like, "Oh, don't hurt him. He's got issues. He's sensitive. He's got beauty issues." And then Joe, who is my favorite character in this
Yeah.
show, uh, who doesn't get enough to do in this episode, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because the model says he just has big hairy body issues. Don't hurt him.
and Joe's like, "I feel that."
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, did, did you hear that? He's got issues.
There's
And
a
deflects.
we didn't we didn't mention, but there's a recurring gag throughout the episode that Lightning thinks that Joe is a guy.
Oh, right. And then
Yeah,
somebody like makes a joke about like or like corrects him or whatever, and he's like, good one. Whenever
yeah,
somebody's like, oh no,
it,
that's she's a
it,
chick. And he's like, oh, you're pretty funny.
yeah.
And he's like,
Uh,
did you hear that joke? But like my fellow man. And
but but there's a comment someone makes later on toward the end of the episode where about the fact that like because the implication here is that like, oh, like Joe just looks like is masculine looking or whatever, but then someone makes a comment about Lightning not being able to tell the difference between men and women.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh,
So some
okay.
of the writing on the like a lot of it is like okay boomer writers, but a lot of it is pretty funny too.
Yeah,
And what happens? Team Rats decides to throw another duffel bag bomb at the Yeti to
yeah,
stop the menace. And it explodes, and they dress him up in like what is it, a bikini and like one of those like twirly like little hats.
yeah.
Embarrassing clothes.
He's got a beanie on with a like a
The propeller.
propeller. Yeah.
I think those are cool.
One thing that happens in this scene that I actually I saw what they were doing right away, and I'm like,
Me
oh,
too.
that's funny.
Because when they arrive, they're like, "What's with all the scaffolding here?" And Anderson Cooper's like, "Oh, before I knew the island was completely like wacko dangerous, I sent it here to make construction team here to make this my private resort." And then immediately cuts to a whole bunch of like psycho mutated beavers eating like human bones and wearing construction hats. And I'm like, wow, it implied
Yeah,
like mass death.
yep,
Interesting.
yeah. Um, so the gang like rushes the scaffolding, and there are all these barrels around, and again, like I immediately saw what they were doing. What
He jumps up and down and he
he jumps
breaks
up and
the
down,
scaffolding.
and he starts throwing barrels down, and I'm like, huh, they're doing Donkey Kong. This is
I
actually kind
liked
of
that.
this. No, I did too. I thought it was funny. Uh, and meanwhile, Seth Rogen is like jonesing out. He's like, game must have
Must
video game
have. Oh,
must have.
and right before he joneses out, all the men, the manly men, they just decide to rush the Yeti and get the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah. Uh, and then Seth Rogen like looks up at Donkey Kong unfolding IRL before his very eyes.
And even his own hands.
Yeah. And
He
he's
sees
like,
everything in the
game.
pixel world.
Yeah. We are spirits in the digital world.
Still one life left. It's like all on me now. It's not good, but I like doing my Seth Rogen impression.
Right.
One funny thing about this character is when he's running up the scaffolding, he makes the little like the little stepping
Yeah.
sounds.
A bunch of them also come up with the idea. They're like, "Oh, how are we gonna Lindsay? That's the model's name. How are we gonna get Lindsay away from the Yeti?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, we could distract him with someone prettier. With
And Padme's like,
maybe I could do it."
and they
And then
decide
what?
no.
Jersey Shore is like, "Oh, I can't do it because these shoes that I'm wearing." And then Joe Joe ends up being the one
She
to do this.
volunteers. She's like, I'll take one for the team. I ain't afraid of no ape. No damn dirty ape.
It's not makeup, it's war paint.
They're like, I didn't know you wore makeup. It's not makeup, it's war paint. And I'm like,
Yeah.
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 And the split personality kid is like, we're running out of time. You guys doesn't have to be perfect. And he switches personalities to an old curmudgeon character. And he's like, you kids, we're not painting the Sistine Chapel. Get out of my way.
Yeah, I don't know what this guy's deal is.
I don't dig it.
No, I don't either. And honestly, like he was such a non-presence in my head when I was watching this. Like he was barely there.
Yeah. And he just does something quick and he's like, there, just throw some rouge on it and you're done. And then Joe is like, finally. And she turns around to go confront the Yeti. And army dude like walks by and like looks in shock and actually faints. And Joe's like, now I know what they mean by drop dead gorgeous. And it's like literally Harley Quinn makeup.
Yeah, it's
like big fucking like blue splotches across her eyes and just red. Want to know how I got these scars? Splatter across her mouth.
I got kind of Mimi from the Drew Carey show vibes.
Like if Mimi, if she was crying.
Yeah.
That's fair. Underrated character. No, everyone loves Mimi.
Underrated show.
Underrated show. That's yeah. If you like the show, you like Mimi.
Yeah.
Also, somebody has to keep Drew in check.
Yeah.
There's a show. Like I've brought that up with other people. You're the only one who's aware of that movie, of that TV show's existence.
Really? I think it ran for something like 9 seasons.
Like people are like, oh yeah, but like no one I've talked to has actually watched an episode.
The Drew Carey. Yeah, I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ran from 1995 to 2004.
Forever.
I actually remember 9 seasons, 233 episodes. I remember watching the series finale when it originally aired. I was like, this Drew Carey's finally ending. The finale was very forgettable. I think he ended up marrying Kate or something at the end of it. Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, but what happens here? We enter like pixelated, like video game mode. And Sam is Seth. We've been calling him Seth Rogen. His name's Sam. And the gang, the boys, are cheering him on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're cheering him on, Lightning's like, go get him, you crazy couch potato. And I'm like, your video game like nerd jokes are like overreaching. They're hitting. They feel like they're from the 90s.
I was gonna say, well, isn't like calling someone a couch potato? That's a very like 80s/90s thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only okay to be a couch potato if you're watching televised programming.
It's only okay to be a couch potato if you're a chick on OkCupid and list one of your interests as Netflix as an interest.
I feel like you're speaking from personal personal experience.
That was just something that I always found really weird on dating apps when I would see just women who would have their under their interest section, they would put watching Netflix. And I'm like, you're essentially saying that you're a couch potato. But then like a lot of these people too would be the same ones who would like shit talk me for playing like Mass Effect for like 6 hours.
Man, I used to see a lot of like 4x4ing and like same thing, just like generic, like, oh, like Survivor and stuff. And it was like, if you have 4x4ing and Survivor in your bio,
Hiking.
And
That that's a big one on dating
I
apps.
actually almost just
Hiking.
said that. Hiking. And I'm like, you're a human. Okay.
I actually used to say on my dating profile, I'm like, I walk on average about 20 to 30,000 steps per day, so no, I don't want to go hiking with you. I walk enough as it is.
I do that. Valet at a hotel slash bellman. You better believe sometimes it's just faster to, instead of waiting for the elevator, to run from the lobby to the fifth floor up
I
the
I believe it.
stairs
I believe it.
and running to the parkade and doing the cars and a lot of running for what you would think is like a fancy, like cushy job. No,
Right.
it's a lot of sweating and like a three-piece freaking suit. Um, but anyways, where the heck were we here? Oh, Dakota, I said, yeah.
Right.
Oh, there you go. Their names are Dakota and Lindsay. We have proven that they're different characters. Everyone's
I can't believe I like dovetailed them in my head.
the first little bit of the show, I did too. And then I
I
was like, oh, wait a second. They're both present in this scene. How can she be down here and up there?
yeah, like I said, I guess when I was watching it, like I just thought like I was so I was folding laundry while I was watching this, so I looked down and then looked back and I thought she had just moved from behind the table to like up by the
Right.
stage. Even though
That's fair.
one of them's wearing a headband and the other isn't, and they're dressed completely differently. I don't know.
Anyways,
I'm just dumb.
Sam fails.
Yeah.
Sam fails. He runs up and he's like, ah, and everybody's like, yeah. And there's an action scene, and he's got his hammer, and then the Yeti just kind of like grabs him by the face and like tosses him, hits the ground, and everyone else is like, game over, man, game over.
Game over. So how does this resolve anyway? Let's start
Joe
wrapping
runs
this up soon.
We get to see her makeup, right? And it's like literally like smeared purple eyeshadow and like red across her whole face.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's like, hey, sweet little hairball, feel like a tall glass of gorgeous. She's like trying to think of like sexy things to say. And I really like her hoodie dress, by the way.
I find it endearing how like incredibly awkward she is when she's trying to be flirty.
Yeah.
She's trying to be flirty and sexy.
I kind of like that.
She's just incredibly awkward and like it's endearing. I like that character.
The character. From this episode we've established who our favorite is.
Yeah.
And Lindsay goes, cringe, see, Yeti? Now that's an example of what not to do. And then everybody points and laughs. And
good.
She gets angry and goes and upper punches him off the mountain. And Dakota's like talking to Sam, who is like passed out on the floor. And she's like, those are some pretty sick moves up there. And they're kind of like flirting. And then the Yeti lands on him, presumably killing him. And then we see Joe at the top of the mountain. She's like, that'll teach you for laughing at a beautiful lady. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Roll those sleeves up. And by the way, to call back to that lol so random, Anderson Cooper now flies up to the mountain, who he has apparently gotten his jetpack back. And he's using the jetpack to fly up, and he's like, Team Maggot, you've earned immunity. And I'm like, shouldn't only Joe earn immunity? Like, fuck everyone else, right?
Right. Well, and indeed, speaking of Joe, like they go back to the island because it's time to like vote someone off.
Yeah.
They end up voting
but they
off.
don't vote anyone off. It's decided by Cooper.
Yeah, yeah. And,
who now has black hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering about that. See, him, I was like, is he a different character?
Yeah, is this guy different? Does he just have, is it because it's night and the color filters are different?
No, he had dark hair in the last scene too, when it was still daytime.
Are Are
I
these
was very.
different? Are
Are
these
these
different
different?
characters?
I was very confused by it.
Oh, I
Um,
think they are, my dude. Anyways, we like this. Okay, we like the show. Give us a break. Um, but it seems that it's chosen by this guy or the
yeah,
host or the staff of the show,
yeah,
not a voting system, because they start flicking out marshmallows, and Tank Top and Lightning get one, and he's like, "You're both safe." Apparently, their names are Lightning and Scott.
all right. Well, today I learned.
And then he's like, "As for the one who's going home, the toxic marshmallow of loserdom." And it shows, by the way, there's an assistant on the show, and he's like a big, like tough kind of like dude with like a mustache, right?
Right.
He's a man of few words. He's been playing all of like Sam's video games in the
Yeah,
background.
he's been playing his Game Boy Advance.
Oh, because Sam's been complaining about all of his handhelds being taken away for the show.
Right.
And it's been showing him playing them the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And he's in a
speaking of Seth
hazmat suit.
Rogen, he's the one who gets kicked out.
That bothered me. Who tried more than this guy to get his team to win? He went and talked to like a fashionable lady, right? He advised his team.
Right.
He went to go fight the Yeti, even though, you know, he was a little bit wonky and like delusional. Like, what? Why is he going home?
I
That bothered me. He was the MVP, even though their team lost. He was the MVP of their team.
Right.
Poor
Oh,
Sam.
well, whatever.
And what they end up saying is he says something insulting that I really hated. What's his name is like Semper Fi. And what's the anyways, I'm gonna, instead of trying to find it, the thing
so
that
just
the host
really really
wrap
wrap
the
this
thing
up.
that the host
like,
says that bothered me was like, "Oh, you really dropped the ball on like today's one, blah blah blah," and I'm like, man,
yeah,
disagree.
disagree. Like you said, he was the MVP. So after they get rid of him, they decide to like switch members of the teams, and so Tank Top Boy goes over to the Team Maggot, and Joe goes over to Team Rat.
Yes, which
And
means it's 5-on-3 right now. And the way they do this is he's like, I need a one volunteer from each team. So he doesn't tell them what they're volunteering for. And then he's like, okay, switch sides.
yeah,
So
and
it's
so
Joe, Lightning, and
Sarge. And so
Sarge.
and so Sarge is like he raises his hand and is like he's like, "Oh, welcome to the team." And she like
Welcome to my team.
grabs his hand and she's like, "You mean my team?" Which
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hell yeah."
Whoa. And Tank Top like nudges Padme and he's like, hey, teammate. And like she looks visibly like uncomfortable. I might screenshot that. He's like got the, excuse the term, but his rape face on.
Right.
And it does. I get what you're laying down now.
Yeah.
He's like staring at her and like looming over her. And she's like kind of like
Yeah.
turning away from him as he's like cackling. And another character even notices this and goes, so
Cringe.
clearly this isn't a good guy, a good guy.
Yeah, cringe.
And it's cringe. Oh, I guess they get rid of Sam by tossing him off the island in a catapult, like
In a catapult.
a medieval catapult. He's like, can I get my handhelds back at least? No.
And what was her name? Dakota.
Dakota comes up.
She's like,
her number.
yeah, gives him her number. She's like, yeah, you're really sweet. Please call me. And then Anderson Cooper like catapult ejects him, and he drops the piece of paper that has the number on it. And at this moment, I was like, no, damn
My
it,
dude. And he wasn't cringy like "Milady," like
No.
at all in the episode. He was the butt of like all the lazy fat video gamers jokes. Him and there was believable chemistry there.
Right.
Oh, and he lost her number.
Yeah, that bugged me.
You too?
Yeah. Um, and so the episode ends with
We'll see you next time, folks. With the host, who is not the same person, by the way, as we watched this at least twice, folks. um
I watched it like right before we started recording. Although, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can listen to this. We did end up bullshitting for like an hour before we started doing the
what are you
show.
gonna do? What are you gonna do? And yeah, we'll find out what happens next time. And it's kind of like before it ends,
Lin
it cuts
Lin
to Lindsay.
Lindsay talking with some like irradiated beavers. The beavers with the hard hats on them.
Yeah,
The ones that it implied ate the workers before.
yeah,
So
they've got like mammoth tusks.
so she's like, "Hey, does anyone know where the boat is?" So
Yeah, she's just chilling near a campfire.
her fate is probably sealed, I would think.
Nah, she's fine.
So
There's a lot of implied this person was mauled or punched off. It's anime violence.
right. Well, I think she's gonna get eaten personally.
Okay,
But
okay.
um,
And we will definitely look into that.
we will definitely look into that. So I liked the show. There were things about it that I didn't like. All the like the video game, all the video game jokes, and like having him be like the butt of the joke because he plays video games feels really outdated to me.
Yeah, that's my okay boomer
Yeah,
writers thing. But a lot was fine.
yeah.
A lot of the
Overall,
characters are caricatures,
yeah.
right?
Overall,
But
I didn't love the show, but I also didn't hate it. Like I enjoyed it. I I don't think I'll keep watching
I
it.
did too. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I'll keep watching it, but what I saw, I enjoyed these 22 minutes for the
I
most
do
part.
like how it looks. I like the art style and the shapes, the silhouettes of all the. I appreciate it. Appreciate the character design. There we go.
Speaking of
Oh, and voice
appreciation,
acting.
thank you, Bemused Horseman, for choosing this show for us to review. It was a good time.
Also unexpected. I didn't think you would have chose chose this.
These Patreon picks have been kind of a wild ride because
Right?
it's such an eclectic mix of different shows, and well, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's been all over and surprising. Like you think you know someone, man, and then they throw total drama at you.
That was episode 22 of the Lasercomb podcast. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB, where starting at the $5 and up tier, you get hours each and every week of bonus preamble audio where we kind of shoot the shit before we record this or any of the other shows we do week in and week out. I mentioned me and Cal bullshitted for like an hour.
That's common.
But yeah, before we started doing this episode, if you want to listen to that, that'll be on the Patreon. You also at the $5 tier get a monthly-ish commentary track. So far, there are 6 of them available right now, and 4 of them are Matrix movies. But Lady Glitch, my partner and our co-host on Alphanumeric, is going to be picking the next Too Much Commentary. So.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what she's gonna choose. Uh,
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't know.
and at the $10 and up tier, you, much like Bemused Horseman did this week, get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of, as we just did. You also get our weekly news and current events program, Lasercomb Tonight, which we're actually about to record this week's episode after we're done this. So
Oh yes.
if you want to check that out, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Social media, facebook.com/lasercomb. Once again, LAZORCOMB, central hub for this and all the other shows we do week in and week out. Or you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Lasercomb, spelled the same way.
At
Al.
Lasercomb. And I am at NeoCal, NEO_KAL.
Uh, give us both a follow. NeoCal, what are we next month? Well, this month because it is February. Because
Oh, yes.
we had an extra Patreon sponsored episode. So this week or this month, February 2022, we are dubbing Anime Month. I've put a Twitter poll up for shows to potentially review in a couple of weeks from now. But Cal, what are we going to be talking about next week?
I racked my mind over. Oh, I'll
And
do
and
something.
and,
Will
and listeners, we Cal actually hasn't told me yet what his pick is, so
that's true.
I'm finding out in real time here.
So at first I was like, I'm gonna make him watch something I like, and then I was like, you know what? No, I want to do something episodic. So we're not dropped in the middle of something, and we're like, without context, this isn't fun, and something we both haven't watched.
Okay,
So I chose Space Dandy.
Space Dandy.
Yes, sir. We watching Space Dandy.
I I have never heard of that, so I'm going
I
to
was hoping you haven't.
Space Dandy. I'm gonna look that up. It's a manga. The anime was 26 episodes. It originally ran from January 4th, 2014, the day after my 29th birthday, to September 28th, 2014. Alrighty then. So as always, I'm gonna hit screen share here. And we are at numbergenerator.org.
Oh boy.
So, number of episodes between 1 and 26. Here we go. Episode 7. What is that?
Episode 7.
A race in space is dangerous, baby. They
Notice the naming scheme?
baby.
Yeah.
Nice. There's a yeah, I appreciate jokes like that. There's a Japanese heavy metal band named Metal Lucifer who almost all of their songs are titles are heavy metal something. Heavy metal
Oh,
bulldozer,
you
heavy metal chainsaw, heavy metal samurai, heavy metal
you shared
battle
them
axe.
with me. Like
Yeah.
they got some good stuff too.
Yeah, it's Metal Lucifer. It's great. I've been listening to them since like 2004, I think.
Amazing.
Amazing. Indeed. So the plot synopsis for this is hoping to impress the ladies at Boobies. The Aloha O crew enters an intergalactic nebula Grand Prix against its glamorous reigning champion named Prince, his state-of-the-art robot Z, and his rat-like alien lawyer named Squeak. Dandy uses various tricks to stay ahead of his competitors until he catches up with Prince. At a pit stop, Meow runs out of fuel to refill I keep wanting to say Daddy Dandy's tank and is forced to substitute it with a mixture of various substances while Squeak plants a bomb on the little Aloha that he detonates once Dandy comes neck and neck with Prince. All right, well, uh,
Uh-huh.
ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're going to be watching next week. I, I, you never cease to amaze me, good sir. Do we know if this is available on anything?
All I know is I watched the first 60 seconds of episode 1 and I jived with the character immediately and I stopped watching and I was like, this is it. This is what we're watching.
All right, I'm going to just watch.
So episode 1 in a very low quality, mind you, is on YouTube. But let's find out because a certain someone might have a certain anime streaming service running out soon.
It is available to purchase on iTunes. All right, well, I'll do that then. Um, Yeah, I'll deal with that later on. Anyway, that does it for this week's episode of Lasercomb Podcast. We're gonna get out of here. I'm the Siege, one of your hosts.
And as always, I'm NeoCal.
And until next time, thanks for listening. We'll catch you later.
Bye.
Take a trip to another dimension.